welcome to a new episode of the Herd Main Show. I'm your herd leader, John Wayne.
My brain is so full of new information that I want to share with you.
Yes.
I'm high.
And that is how
High.
that's how we start an episode. That's how we start a season, because this is a new season. New season, new episode, new look.
New type.
Lots of new things. This is our 6th season in our 2nd year. Well, I guess we're starting our 3rd year, really.
Yeah.
But it's exciting. So we're just growing with the times, as you do, and just having a good time. If you haven't been keeping up and heard about some of that,
heard about it. Did you hear?
You got to be about the herd. You got to be a part of the herd to to have had of herd.
Have you heard that I have a theme song?
Apparently.
Thanks to Beats and Parsecs for that theme song.
There you go.
I'm Megan, by the way. Sorry.
Yes. So you missed your chance to introduce yourself.
I've never
you decided to
chance.
complain about your brain, and so now you missed your chance. So you are the nameless.
You're
the nameless brainless. So, no, but yeah, we're not changing that much. I don't want to get anybody's skivvies, scared or anything,
Scared underpants. That's the only panties I wear.
Right, scaredy panties. But no, yeah, we are wanting to continue to improve. That's all we ever seek to do. And new seasons give us an opportunity to do that. And seasons just mean the next grouping of months of episodes for us, really. Mm-hmm. We have typical times where we break, being at the end of summer, end of Christmas, and, going on. So every year technically is 2 seasons. You get 2 seasons. So either way. But it's just things that we're doing to improve ourselves, improve the brand, and improve what you're putting in your ears. We want to make sure you're putting only the best things in your ears and whatnot. So that's why we keep open channels of communication, and why you should be following us on all the social medias, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, because all the places you can hit us up and let us know what you liked, you didn't like, and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
There are certain things we do because we like it, and we hope you like it. But then there's things we do, and you guys have a lot of steering power, in terms of your opinion and what you think, mm-hmm. and all that stuff. So it's always good to let us know what you like. You do that by not just rating and reviewing. We hope you're doing that, but just reaching out to us and letting us know. We love to hear those sorts of things. I mean, just honestly, we have had times where Rebels was a bit of a chore, and it's something we're enjoying, but we weren't sure if other people were enjoying. And then we had several people that started letting us know that's one of their favorite things. And it's just like, all right, that's what we needed to keep going. Exactly. So, your voices matter to us, to our little gig and everything. So, but including and continuing the train of new things, this episode kicking off season 6, although technically, I guess our live stream kicked that off, which thank you to everyone that showed up to that. That was a very good time. Hopefully by the time this goes out, your packages and swag packs and all that good stuff are well on the way. We will be doing just a bit of housekeeping. We will be doing more streaming. We will do more live streaming for sure. I think we actually have the one at the end of the month planned. The plan is to do one hangout live stream like that at the end of the month. So even if you don't listen to the podcast on YouTube, and I mean, if you didn't know, yes, we put the podcast on YouTube as well. Even if you don't listen to the podcast there, be sure to head over and subscribe so that you can join us and hang out with us during live streams, and anything else we post. We're talking about other things that are going to end up on the YouTubes. So it's a good place to connect with us. Just good in general to connect with us everywhere, because you never know what's going to happen with us. So the plan is at the end of every month, and technically, the one we did last week didn't count because it was a season premiere. So we're still doing one at the end of the month. Won't tell you just yet what it's going to be. Want you to build the suspense and whatnot. So
we want you to be surprised.
Surprise.
The best kind of prize is a surprise.
There you go. So head over to our YouTube and follow us there. All of that good stuff. But that fun premiere.
Yeah.
Was a fun premiere, but this is bees knees, brass tacks, and business right here.
We're down to business.
Business.
We're gonna
We just
defeat
paid
so many
25
villains.
cents to James A. Janice's copyright. But no, so this is something we had tossed around for a while, much like when we began 10 Ways to Die series, which, if you don't know, we
Yes.
basically do a sort of Animal Planet version of a Star Wars planet, except with the sole goal of telling you how many ways, well, telling you 10 ways, it's in the title, you could die on said planet.
And sometimes those are easy. Sometimes those are a little bit harder.
Right. I mean, it's like,
Yeah,
you know,
it's
showing
fun.
someone around your house, you know, the best places to tour are the places that could kill you. So
This is the bathroom.
this is the bandsaw, you know, this is the pit of despair, you know, that's where we keep the Rancor.
That's
you know,
Pinky.
so that's essentially, you know, the best way to explore a planet is to find out how it'll kill you.
Yes.
And so we have explored Death Star, we've explored Endor, we've explored Tatooine, and we will be exploring more in the future. So look forward to that. But that was something where we talked about it forever and eventually found, all right, this is what it could look like. And that's one we really like, and we're not planning on not doing. Unless people are just absolutely offended by its existence, we probably won't drop that.
I'm from Moncala. How dare you?
Right.
I feel like Moncala would
Unless we're
a
insulting your
episode.
home world, I don't see much reason not to do that one because it's just fun. Apparently, Star Wars Conversations had a lot of fun with it. We appreciate their shout out and reflectively shout them out.
Yeah.
They recently did an episode on weapons, and that might sound very generalized, but it's actually really cool. They run down some of the types of weapons throughout the galaxy, and in one part they reach a bit of a different, because when you think Star Wars weapons or sci-fi weapons, you think lasers and all this other stuff, or just really cool traditional guns. But you know, weapons are weapons, and Ewok weapons count. So in one episode they talk about that and other cool things. They give a lot of attention to Gungan weapons, which is really cool because those are fascinating as heck, and we just kind of forget about those. So Star Wars Conversations, one of our Red 5 Family Network podcasts, much worth checking out for that. So this was born out of similar circumstances of an idea that just kept kind of getting processed and over, because it's one of those things where it's like it comes out of the printing press and you're like, not quite, and you just keep passing it through.
You put it in the Rolodex and you flip past it every so often and you're like, that would be a good idea. Because I have a habit that I think I've told you about a few times, but I love Wookieepedia. I will go on wiki deep dives just for fun. I'll start off at like, I don't know, the War of 1812, and I'll end up at Kevin Bacon because I like to play that game.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, no, when it's really easy because it's such a great resource in that, and there's certain people that don't like it because it's so public, you know, and everything. But I think that's the beauty of it, in that you don't have to have everything, but you can add something. But the beauty of everything's got a reference, and it's a quick reference. It's not like an article or academic post where it's all at the end and you've got to go beat for beat for beat, and you've got to remember, wait, so this reference is for page 20. What the heck was that about again? But to be able, as you're reading, blah, 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 you know, Yuuzhan Vong, let me just click that. And then you just get on this deep dive from there. And before you know it, it's 3 a.m. and you feel bad and you're eating brownies. You know, it just happens.
We should get brownies.
Exactly. So yes, this series, we're going to hopefully be able to continue this series.
That highly depends on whether or not you guys like it.
Yeah, so the idea was there are several aspects specifically about certain corners of Star Wars Legends that you're not as familiar with. And you constantly ask, and I kind of explain a little bit, but you kind of just are like, okay, and move on.
Yeah.
Because there are aspects of Star Wars Legends lore that's very... okay, I could get into that, but I kind of don't want to. So I'm just going to go rewatch the new stuff.
Throw back to my introduction.
Yeah. No, absolutely no offense. Just prefacing in this.
No.
This is not a Legends versus canon
No offense to Timothy
thing.
Zahn. Like, he's a
Or,
great guy.
well, anyway, if you talk Yuuzhan Vong, they have so many authors, so many stories. There's a lot going on, which is what's the word I'm looking for? It is something to admire in their approach to the huge multimedia storytelling. This was the first time we'd seen such a thing, really, in that it was everywhere you turned with Star.
Yeah.
This was Star Wars for a period of people's lives, and I think that's why people like it so much. It was not for me, so I just up front saying that. But I think that's what's so interesting about the concept of giving you a mission that you can choose to or not to accept.
Yeah.
To read a couple of wikis about a subject.
Yeah.
And then come back and we talk about it. You try and explain to me after a single night's worth of wiki hunting.
Yes, I have notes.
Yes, I'm sure you do.
There's a lot of question marks in these notes. I will go ahead and tell you.
Of course. So this is not meant to be a full synopsis.
No.
This isn't meant to be highly detailed, and neither of us are experts on this field. I know a little bit more than you do, but that's not much.
It's from my understanding of what's going on in the story, and I look forward to people chiming in and correcting most of it.
and that's the beauty of this concept is we take something a little lesser known, maybe talk about it in a very, like, if you gave a non-fan, and I mean obviously you're a fan of Star Wars, but if you gave a non-fan an aspect of Star Wars and then asked them to explain what's happening, what's going on, who are these people, you'd probably get something interesting
like this.
Versus if you had just straight nerds talk about it that know every absolutely fine-tuned detail of it, which, not to say that that's bad, we do that on a regular basis. So we figured let's handicap ourselves and talk about something we don't know as well, and have fun with that. And it opens the door and invites people in who love this Legends lore a little bit more than us to come alongside us and educate us. And I probably won't change my mind, but
no, I certainly haven't.
I am always down for learning more. I will say that. Always interested in learning more. So that's the basis of this episode, and hopefully it's as interesting to you all as it is to us. If nothing else, it'll finally check off a box. We have not talked about these guys
in detail.
Ever.
You've mentioned them.
Yes. When we first began, I outright refused to because it's just not my Star Wars.
Yeah, we did an episode way at the beginning of like the weirdest stuff in Star Wars, and we talked about like the Yuuzhan Vong in passing. I
think so. But, I mean, it's kind of rubbed against a couple of topics that we've talked about in the past,
and they enjoyed that.
Yeah, but we definitely stayed away from it. Just but because again, it's something I'm not expert in. But it's also that the reason for that is just because I just didn't like it. So if you will know what I like by how much I know about it.
Yes.
If I don't know much about it, probably didn't like it or just haven't seen it. Mm-hmm. So so this will be our first deep dive, and this will check off a box. If nothing else, we will be done, and we will have discussed the Yuuzhan Vong. We will have had our Yuuzhan Vong episode.
My only hope is that I can make Alex, Star Wars Explained, proud, or Sam Witwer, which either one.
I wonder what their opinions are on the Vong.
Of me, please.
There you go. I think that's all we can hope for is to have our Star Wars deities proud of us.
So, John, some of my favorite podcasts are the dynamic of the expert and the non-expert. Yeah. The dimwit, maybe.
Well, no, dimwit insinuates they're a fool, either by choice or just by nature.
The person who did the reading and the person who didn't do the reading.
Right. Well, I mean, I would just say expert and non-expert. Yeah. Someone who is versed and someone who has never heard of it or heard of it but never studied it.
Yeah. The thing is that this episode is going to be the tale of two non-experts.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
And that's the deal. Usually, there's the trade-off of I'm an expert in something you're not, you're an expert in something I'm not.
Yeah.
And then somewhere in the middle, we overlap on some things and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Even some episodes play that in a lot of something I'm very, very familiar with you're experiencing for the first time. That's the whole basis of Clone Wars and Rebels and all of that stuff that we do.
Yeah, one of my favorites being Sawbones is the expert and non-expert dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
That is a fantastic podcast. You should give them your attention.
Medical history.
Yes. So, to start things off, I made a list.
Yes.
As I tend to do.
Yep.
I made a list of things that came to my mind as I was skimming this wiki. I didn't skim it, I read it.
But yeah, I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It is also a lot.
Just to start things off, hey John, have you ever seen the movie Ghosts of Mars?
Yes, I have.
Because of me.
Yes. Well, no, I'd seen it before you.
Oh. Well,
yeah, it was on AMC late one night. So
yeah, if you haven't seen Ghosts of Mars, it's about space masochism.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very different film than you'd expect it to be.
Yes.
Do not.
It's got Ice Cube in it.
Yeah, exactly. Do not let any of the information you do or don't know about it skew you. Watch the movie, if nothing else, for a social experiment in how much you will assume before pressing play. Okay.
There's two movies like that. There's Ghost of Mars and there's Event Horizon. Both came to my mind.
Well, both are space. Just mutilation.
Like, you go up into space and you have a bad time.
Right.
That's
technically even Hellraiser eventually got to space. So throw that one in there and everything. If you know the subject matter of which we're speaking, it kind of makes a little bit sense.
Hellraiser is on the list.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
It was Ghost of Mars, Event Horizon, Hellraiser, a collab between Clive Barker and Ridley Scott.
Ooh.
Keeping with the space theme. I want to see that, honestly.
The Yuuzhan Vong's design, too, is very H.R. Geiger. Yes. Because of the biomechanical nature of the species. So props to them for capturing that essence in there. I will say that's part of the aesthetic reason why I don't like the Vong is because they don't...
seem referential.
Well, yes, but from the wrong aspects.
Yeah.
They don't really ever fit in for me with known Star Wars. Like, they just don't look like something from Star Wars. Their history is not something Star Warsy. Their overall interaction with the galaxy is not something Star Warsy. It's just very different. And I get that was what was the sell. Oh, you want to tell this big Star Wars story? Well, what do you want to do? And it's just like, oh, well, that's new. Surely that'll get people's attention, and it did. But I will say I'm of the very small part of the community that was just very, ew. I just, I don't, this is not.
Okay, that's an accurate feeling to have when you're thinking about the Yuuzhan Vong.
Oh, yeah.
Anymore, ew.
Yeah, it's just, and that's the only preface I can give to my opinions about all of this was it just did not fit in with what and I'm not saying that I had a perfect and have a perfect, and I'm not saying that certain things can feel or shouldn't feel different. I just mean, for me, I have an idea and I have an understanding of what fits in Star Wars. And if it crosses a certain threshold, I'm just not game. I mean, I would give it a shot, as I did this, but overall, it's just not going to be on my bookshelf. It's,
I'm glad that you mentioned that it didn't feel Star Warsy, because one of my opinions that I thought of, it feels Star Trekky.
Very.
Incredibly Star Trekky. Like, this was in
a
block of episodes.
This was in the height of Star Trek Renaissance, too, in that you had the Next Generation going on, and a lot of their storytelling was also in novellas. So, similarly, this was an attempt for Star Wars to come back to life in things that were modern popular with sci-fi fans at that point.
Oh, yeah. They are reverse Borg.
Yeah.
To a T. They are non-technology. They are...
Well, yeah. I mean, biotechnology.
Biotech, yeah.
Which... technically humans are technology, so it gets weird in your definitions.
What is this, Bicentennial Man?
Well, it's just that, like, because I mean, they have weapons and ships that are bioengineered.
Yeah, let's get to that. How
Yeah,
about that? Their weapons are
some
of
of
their
their. If
weapons
you look at most pictures, you will see them with,
are snakes.
yeah, like
They're
like serpenty
sentient.
things. Yeah.
Okay, here's when we're getting to the meat of the thing. This is where all of the question marks come in.
Okay.
So their weapons, some of them, are made of organic life forms that are very long and look like snakes and dragons and stuff like that. Their planet that they come from is sentient.
Well,
it's ego. What the heck is going on in this story?
It's slightly more sentient than your average planet. Because well, I should say it's sentient, yes, but it's only slightly more alive than any other planet, because our planet is alive, like it is an organism. Our planet is an organism.
It's like how Earth is what's the freaking Transformers name?
Unicron. That's
Earth
only in very specific lore, and you better be careful which one you're referencing.
I don't know which one I'm referencing. All I know is that the Earth is Unicron.
No, it's not. It's not. In any good canon, it's not. I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there.
Yeah, okay.
Wait for that episode.
We'll talk about that.
Yes. Which seems like a good time to go ahead and promo.
Hey, Nerdyverse.
Nerdyverse. So coming out this week. So as you're listening to this later this week, we're going to be dropping our first episode of Nerdyverse. We've talked a little bit about it on social media. We talked about it on our live stream. We're excited about Nerdyverse because this is going to be our outlet for something that, well, for everything, not Star Wars, which is a big task for sure, but it'll keep us in business. Job security, folks. But essentially, yeah, we love things other than Star Wars, and sometimes that peaks out. Transformers, Star Trek. A lot of things have been mentioned so far just in this episode that are not Star Wars, but we like those things.
Yeah.
Well, we're giving those things a home now on the podcast. It's going to be a new series, and it's going to have its own episode art, so you know what episodes those are and what to look for and all that other stuff.
Yeah, you guys have seen the dodecahedron that we posted on Twitter.
But you don't have to subscribe to a new podcast for this. We talked about that. We went back and forth. We're not going to give it its own home because it just seems like a lot of extra work to have you guys like a whole nother bunch of pages and subscribe to a whole nother podcast. We don't want to muck up your stuff. Instead, we will remain Nerd Herder Podcast. This will remain the main show, and it's all Star Wars all the time. And then we will have Nerdyverse, which is just another series
Masters of the Nerdyverse
under Nerd Herder, where it gets into the universe of other things we are nerds about and that we love.
Get ready to hear my crying impression a lot.
So just like Rebels Rewatch is a series on Nerd Herder, Nerdyverse is going to be a series on Nerd Herder, and we're very excited. So later this week, we'll be posting that. We're starting off gentle and simple, and just going to kind of peek into the worlds you can expect to hear from, starting off with your interests in fandoms. Then next week, we'll get into mine, and then we get, rubber meets the road. Then we start talking about stuff. So
we already have our first few episodes planned, and you are going to be very happy.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
It's stuff that we already talk about on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, and it's the same basis for Nerd Herder. It's things we already talk about and love that we're just recording and sharing with you. So hopefully some of that will be awesome. If you start to see new faces, new followers, and more people that aren't necessarily Star Wars fans, that's liable to happen, and we hope that happens. We just want to reach as many people and nerds as we can. That's the idea of the herd. It's this community of people that all love stuff. It was based on and founded on Star Wars, and that's not going away. But we're starting to build, upper floors. We're starting to build the penthouse, and
we have other interests, Janet.
Yeah. So, and so maybe you'll find out something else we love as much as Star Wars that you love, and that'll be awesome. So, don't remember why I started promoting that, but I did.
I don't remember.
So be on the lookout for Nerdyverse. We're excited about that. But we were talking about their organic weapons.
We were talking about their organic weapons and how they are genetically engineered. The Vong
Right.
are the
Okay.
GMOs.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So that was what got us there because of that whole organic planet and all this other stuff and everything. Yeah.
They're like xenomorphs, basically. But a lot more humanoid. I think the argument can be made.
They give those vibes for sure. Again, they're very inspired. They're very, they're a melting pot of many popular sci-fi things of that era.
If
that makes sense.
Like I said, Hellraiser, all of those things.
Yeah.
They also look like Klingons.
Uh-huh.
They also kind of sound like you've seen the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movie.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't read the books. I'm going to force you to read them at some point. They're good reads. They're my favorite series.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
They sound like Vogons, which are the really ugly aliens at the very beginning.
Like the really big chubby guys and everything?
Exactly.
Okay.
That tell the terrible poetry that make your ears bleed.
Oh, gosh. I don't have as much reference for that or anything.
Yeah.
But, yeah, if anything, this is, these are creatures and media that for me is very dated because seeing them, especially seeing the book covers, and then hearing synopses, you really start to get 90s sci-fi vibes.
And if you've seen Star Trek Nemesis,
they
remind me so much of the Remans.
Oh yeah, so much.
The outfits
wasn't
Tom Hardy?
Yeah, Hellboy.
Ron Perlman. Yes.
Ron Perlman
was the main
his
Reman.
Yeah, he was his like lieutenant guy, right?
Yeah.
Those are some serious Star Trek vibes from there for sure. For better or for worse, I and this is me assuming because I did not deep dive the authors, the behind the scenes, and I have never talked to or met these people, but I get the feeling that there was a story they wanted to tell, and the quickest, easiest way to get that to the most readers and everything was to throw Star Wars in there, in my opinion.
It's like in the early 2000s when the Harry Potter books were getting traction, and every other story you read were like, like Harry Potter.
Yeah. Well, and then, I mean, you've got Mockingjay and whatever those clones are, Divergent and all the...
It started a trend of, well, let's just rewrite it, but new.
Yeah, I mean,
that's not throwing shade at anyone who enjoys those stories,
right? Well, and it's not to say that for those that love this, that this wasn't a way to get them a Star Wars they loved.
Yeah,
it's just that was the recipe.
Yeah,
in my opinion,
that was what was successful.
Right. Well, and this is highly successful in book mediums, and you've got to figure there were no films. There were not going to be movies at this point. So this is why so many eggs were in the basket of books and comics and all this other extra media, because this is what was going to be Star Wars for the foreseeable future.
Yep.
It was only because this series did well that Lucas even decided to do the movies.
Oh, yeah. And while I was skimming the wiki, I saw several instances of George Lucas popping his head in and being like, no. And popping back out.
Yeah, he really didn't pull his Lucas card often, but he did keep that. But this is one of those series also that led him to that life of this is what built what we knew to be the legends and why it got convoluted was because slowly but surely Lucas got tired of what everybody else was doing. Yep. And once he started his own work, he was just like, look, I'm telling my Star Wars. Just keep them away from that. And he slowly got way less involved, and that meant you got all kinds of things. Some good, some bad. I mean, it's just Legend. If you can't agree with me that Legends is convoluted,
that's fine.
That's fine, but it's convoluted. And I'm not saying that the New Jedi Order and the Yuuzhan Vong in particular are the worst case of that. I'm just saying that they are definitely the grounds that began it. Because this was the first real major venture into new lore.
Yeah, and it is very new lore.
And it's chunky. It's huge. I forget how many books are in the New Jedi Order.
Not only is it brand new lore, new characters, it's a genealogy of new characters. There's major character death in the series.
A lot.
Like, Chewbacca gets a moon yeeted at him.
Pretty quick into the whole conflict, too.
Yeah.
one of Solo's kids dies.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Spoilers.
Oh yeah, by the way, we're talking about this.
Well, we're talking about major character death.
So, but again, it's really admirable what they were seeking to do, because I mean they were going over all kinds of mediums. I mean, this was the first time you really had a unified look at telling a story, in that it's going to be comics, books, all of this, and we're all working together to do it. Essentially, that's what the story group's doing now.
Yeah.
I just think that there's a lot more control in what's going on now.
And there's not as much scrambling to kind of not fix story beats.
Well, and I think this is a great example, and then we can really get back to getting into the lore of the episode and everything. But I think this is a really good example of how you have two extremes. You go far left field in doing something completely new to Star Wars. Not necessarily new, but new to Star Wars, like the Yuuzhan Vong.
Mm-hmm.
And you get people that don't like it because it's too different, too new. It's just not, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But then you get the safe right field where, well, you stick to some of the same beats and whatnot. And arguably you get the sequel trilogy that is very bathed in familiarity. Definitely new, but obviously it keeps an echo of the past.
Mm-hmm.
And you get people that are just like, well, that's just repeat. That's just nothing new and not exciting, and I don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen instances since Lucas's involvement with Star Wars, and that's not shade. It's just to say he was the last one to introduce things that were right down the middle, in my opinion, of new to Star Wars, but not so new that you didn't feel like it wasn't Star Wars.
Oh yeah, like.
And by that I mean the prequels.
Oh yeah, definitely the prequels. There's stuff like the Gungans, brand new. Yeah. Very Star Wars.
Oh yeah. Well,
there's stuff like Mortis.
Yeah.
Brand new, very Star Wars.
Even just thinking of the Clone Wars in general, just the idea of the Clone War and all this other stuff. Like, it's a lot of things that he defined, and it felt right. It still felt right. And there's people that'll disagree with that, but I and I'm not saying that Disney's bad because it felt so familiar. I was one that wished it was a little less familiar, for sure.
But enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed the characters. My main gripe was I just wish there were new ships. It's really that surface level, dork. In that I'm just tired of looking at the same looking ships.
Except the Y-wing.
Oh sure, yeah.
The Y-wing is your name.
Well, I just wish I evolved them. Much like in a historical sense, what happens between the ships we see in the prequels to the original trilogy, they're evolved. You can see where one became another. I was hoping for a little bit more of that, especially 30 years different.
Add some front cannons on the Y-wing, make it an H-wing.
There you go. I mean, arguably, this one has the same criticism for me because much of the lore in the New Jedi Order is still heavily steeped in very familiar aspects. Because something to note, if you're not big in Legends, by the beginnings of all of this stuff, the Empire was still around. 25 years after the end of, 25 years after the first Death Star incident, ABY. Yes. They're still around.
Okay.
After Battle of Yavin?
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Sorry.
I didn't know where Yavin was for the longest time. Like, I didn't know that that's what that was.
Yeah, that's for the longest time been the epicenter of this is Zero.
Okay.
So, everything after that incident is ABY.
It's like, I imagine there's a stupid Far Side comic. Far Side's not stupid. Never mind. Where it's like two cavemen talking to each other and saying, oh, it's blank BC. What does BC mean? I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, it's like Luke was running around shooting womp rats. BBY.
Yes, he was.
Oh, thank you.
Yep. This is 25 years after that incident. In canon lore, all of this would have been done. All of the Empire would have been kind of eradicated. I think 6 ABY, maybe 7 ABY. I'm still not entirely certain exactly when the Battle of Jakku happens, but in Legends is what I'm trying to get at, is the Empire went on and on and on. Actually, if it wasn't for the introduction of the Yuuzhan Vong, there might have not been a major end to the Empire.
Yeah, I didn't write down dates, by the way. There's a few things that I did not write down.
The only ones you need to know is that the war starts 25 ABY.
Yes.
So that's when the majority of the story we're talking about takes place. But then, worth noting in Vong lore, about 100 and some change. I want to say 140 something ABY is when Vongness start to. It comes back a little bit. Okay. But it's not major.
So we're going to be mainly in the Great Vong War.
Yeah, a lot of the story of the New Jedi Order. And that's only because that's where so much Vongness is.
That's where most of it happens. Yeah. But, 100 and some change years earlier, they sent out scouts to kind of check out the planet.
Yeah, so in their history, basically, they got to a point where they moved out the neighborhood because it just got too populated and they just got sick of people. Yeah. But always intended to come back, and eventually did, and that's what gets the war. But they were always checking in. They were off in the unknown regions, but they were always checking in with our galaxy, which in the unused episode of Clone Wars that Filoni was floating the idea of Vong around, that was the idea, is that they would have run into a scout. I'm very glad that didn't happen, because we'd still have people asking about what happened to the Vong and everything.
Yeah.
I'm not ready for Star Wars Vong. I'm not.
I don't know what it is.
If it changes a lot, I might be down, but I'm telling you, this is very not Star Wars for me.
I saw a theory that the Sith Alkalites that were in Rise of Skywalker were actually Vong.
Oh my gosh. Where do you get that from?
Twitter.
Well, I mean, where do they get that from? Like, there's so many theories that are completely baseless like that.
Star Wars theories. They usually come from someone throwing spaghetti at the ball and seeing if it sticks.
Yeah, his name's Star Wars Theory, and he's the worst channel you could possibly follow on YouTube. And I'm saying that out loud. And
drop the gauntlet,
John. I'm not a fan of him as a person. On the list. I'm not a fan of his work, and I'm not a fan of his approach to Star Wars and Star Wars media. Yes. I think that I would warn anyone to take a very, very careful look at him and what he puts out there and everything. And if you are a religious follower of him, first of all, why are you listening to us? Because I don't think you would like us at all.
We're too positive.
Now,
except for the
I don't wish any harm to him, and I mean, he's doing his thing, but I am not a fan of the way he does Star Wars.
Oh, I'm sitting here sipping from a Rey Skywalker, bro. You better know.
So
I have a Rose Tico shirt somewhere.
But I mean, he puts out a lot of stuff like that that's just very clickbaity and just very like, what in the world?
Was Palpatine a robot?
No.
So, as I've said, they are pretty much genetically engineered for a specific purpose.
And the weird part is self-genetically.
Yes.
I'm
getting to that.
Oh, okay. I want to make sure to talk about the religion a little bit. Okay. I just wanted to preface the whole basis for them, apparently, about the idea of self-mutilation and also religious sacrifice comes down from their belief system, and that the god I want to say Yuuzhan. Let me double check my notes. Yeah, Yuuzhan. It's just, oh gosh, even the language. Yuuzhan, or I'm gonna say Yun, is their creator god. Okay, he created by like his body parts. So everything that was created from like the mutilation of his body.
Which is where Event Horizon comes in.
Well, I can't remember the lore, but there's some lore. I don't know if it's religious or if I'm mistaking it for some other fantasy lore, but there's some lore about like the world was created out of the body of a giant or something like that. I can't remember what that's from.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I just don't remember what it is.
So it's very similar to that, but on a universal scale.
Yeah.
So their practice then stems from, all right, well, we need, in order for us to progress, we have to do like our God did. They also, though, believe that only their God had all of knowledge
Mm-hmm.
and that he passed it on to them,
Mm-hmm.
meaning they know everything.
Yes.
These are the Southwood bad for everybody Christians that believe there is no new anything.
Yeah.
They're just like, everything I need to know is in my Bible. And I say this
Yeah.
as a Christian, by the way.
God invented vaccine.
Right. Well, it's just
No, you shouldn't vaccinate your children. God invented plants.
It wasn't in the Bible, so it doesn't exist.
And there's a reason I'm using a very Southern accent for that, because they're mostly Southern Baptists.
So, well, it stems from the type of people they are. Again, I say that as a Christian, but look, here's the thing. I vaccinate.
Yeah.
I'm just,
We're vaccinated. Our dog is vaccinating. Our cats is vaccinated.
Our plants are vaccinated.
When we have kids, they're going to be vaccinated.
But there's people that believe, like, if it's not in my religion, it doesn't exist and it's not right. It's sinful. It's bad.
Dinosaurs were created by the government.
And Vong are similar in a way of, creativity, ingenuity, creation. Like, that's bad. That's witchcraft. Like, to Christians, that would be equatable to witchcraft. Mm-hmm. That's wrong. Mm-hmm. You should not do it, and you must die. So that's a part of their sort of like animosity towards things, is this idea of, it's like looking over the landscape and being like, how like most stories are just like, oh, if I could just get to the big city, everything good happens in the big city. All the,
if I could get to the big city, I can destroy it.
Right. Nothing's happening in this small town, Ma. I got to get to the Big Apple. They look at it differently in that, look, their Ma, they're like, no, you don't need to go there. All the things they're doing, the drugs and the music stores and
we have large fruit here.
Right. So they look at the galaxy with animosity because they're like, how dare they? Because we know everything.
So not only that, but you mentioned the self-mutilation.
Yes.
I'm going to get to that.
It's religious.
So I want to start with, so they're called the Yuuzhan Vong. Uh-huh. And the name comes from a mix of the last name of Timothy Zahn and a French-Thai fusion restaurant in New York City.
Yeah.
I want to eat there because that sounds like
the inspiration comes from the weirdest places, man. I'm telling you.
It's like, what's his face? I'll get there.
Okay.
My brain is full of Vong right now.
Apparently.
So these suckers are 6'2" at most.
They're big boys. Yeah.
They're big boys.
They're well, yeah, because they create themselves to be physically powerful.
They're terrifying. Yeah. Anything taller than me must be destroyed.
They feel that way about the rest of the universe, apparently. So there you go. Mm-hmm.
Actually,
anything taller, smaller, wider, bigger, also, any of that.
Apparently, space uses the metric system.
Yeah.
Which makes Earth and America.
Yeah, generally in most sci-fi media, you find that they use the metric system because it's smarter.
We are the only ones that don't use the metric system.
We'll get there.
No, we won't.
If reading Halo has told me anything, we'll get there by 2552.
Yeah. How tall is Master Chef?
7'2".
Wow.
Big boys.
That's a tall.
Well, 6'9" without armor, but yeah.
He wears
legs. And that's augmented. That he was made that big.
So Rhett McLaughlin, who is one part of Rhett and Link, is 6'9". I think.
There you go.
I think he's either 6'9" or 6'8".
Now, just imagine if he had adamantium bones and muscle fiber that could lift cars pretty effortlessly.
I'm uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, as would anyone be. I mean, Spartans are intimidating.
So genetically engineered, they're tall boys. Mm-hmm. They're BDSM, basically.
Yeah, I mean,
they believe that self-mutilation is what gives them strength.
Well, there's real life religions and tribes and people who believe that, that just the physicality, like they can disconnect themselves from the physicality. Like I can injure myself for my God and my beliefs because this is nothing. This isn't my true vessel and all this other stuff. And I'm not saying that's all of those belief systems, but there are belief systems like that, and they're very much along those lines. I do this for my God.
Not only that, but they do something called organ grafting, which is a hyperlink that I did not press because I was afraid. I don't want to know, so I'm not going to touch on it for very long. They are a number 9 on the no-chill scale.
Yes.
Number 10
very much
is
so.
Event Horizon. We don't talk about that on this podcast.
It's, in terms of Star Wars, they're number 10, though.
Yes. They are a number 15.
Yeah.
On a scale of 5. Like, that just ain't it, fam. But something I read was that their bodies have extra nerves in them. Mm-hmm. They're literally made for pain. Mm-hmm. Which is terrifying.
Well, I mean, it's also...
That's what makes them a 15.
Yeah, and it's also the idea... I mean, that brings them, again, closer to their religion, that pushes them forward. They use that. Mm-hmm. It's to their advantage. It's really... This is why it's not Star Warsy for me. Mm-hmm. This is just so... It's super sci-fi.
It's crappy.
And here's the thing.
It's a crappy pasta.
I am one of those. I hold true that Star Wars is not sci-fi. And that's why I think sci-fi doesn't work in it.
Exactly. It's science fantasy. It's sci-fi.
Yeah, it's science fantasy.
No, it's sci-fi.
I mean, that's the whole idea of the space opera. Because, exactly. I mean, and that insinuates it's about the characters more than it's about the setting.
Yeah.
Which is Star Wars. And that's what's so different about having this masochistic space, alien race that just seeks to destroy everything.
Yeah.
And then eventually they do, but then eventually it's all reversed and it's all okay.
Yeah. And to make everything harder for everyone in every situation, they are apart from the Force. They are absent of the Force.
Yeah.
Is the term that I saw.
Yeah, because technically, in a way, they are all... That's what gives them a symbiotic relationship with their planet, is the Force.
Yeah.
Obviously, they don't call it that and everything,
no,
but because they have been attuned to it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was the origin of their species, is that they were originally connected to the Force.
Right.
But through their genetic modification, they set themselves apart from the Force.
So it's this idea of, almost like what Obi-Wan talks about in He's mm-hmm. more machine than man. It's this idea that you can go so far disconnected in what you've done to yourself that now you're not affected by it. But just like you're not affected by it in a weaponized sense, you're also not benefiting from it in a spiritual sense.
Exactly. And being said, the New Jedi Order couldn't detect them through the Force.
Yeah. This is another thing that got out there for me, just because mm-hmm. this is what really defeated the purpose of having Star Wars people there, because this
could have been a Star Trek episode.
So the Jedi couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
So the Jedi were just people, right? Okay. Yeah. Literally everyone else was just people.
Yep.
Okay. So why not just make it just people? Why have Star Wars characters at all?
It sounds like Dune.
I mean, here's the thing. At the end of the day, what helps defeat them? Okay, the Empire and the Rebellion unifying. Mm-hmm. So you've got military power unifying to defeat this alien invasion. So tell me again where Jedi or anything Star Warsy impacts the story. It doesn't.
And something else from the wiki, the Jedi developed a technique called the Vong sense, mm-hmm. which only detected the Vong.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Like, it was so specialized that they created an entirely new Force technique for it. Mm-hmm. They could use, I guess, what I would call extracurricular Force, meaning they could manipulate telekinesis to throw stuff at them.
Yeah, they were susceptible to external Force, but not internal.
Exactly.
Which, again, it just it really nullifies the use of it really does. Of Jedi.
Yeah, another name for the Yuuzhan Vong is the Chosen Race.
Yeah,
which makes them space Aryans.
Well, again, because they're very we have,
which I guess is just Aryans.
Yeah, we have all knowledge. Mm-hmm. Because of our God, we have all knowledge. And because of that, we deem what you do as heresy. Mm-hmm. And because you can't keep up with us, you can't perform against us, we are superior. So we will either eliminate you or subjugate you.
This is even more
That's the basis.
Like a Nazi proxy than the Empire was.
I mean, oh yeah, very much so. I mean, when you've got space Nazis basically being like, hey, can we team up because those guys are crazy? Yeah, you're the bad guy.
Yeah.
I will say the one thing I appreciate the Vong for is giving us this beauty.
What is that?
That is the Yuuzhan Vong Hunter. This is a Yuuzhan Vong droid it was weaponized against the Vong.
That is
dope
look. That
it's
looks
a Terminator.
like a T-800.
Yeah, it's a Terminator. Yet again, though, a reason why it's not Star Wars to me. It's just so not. Weird. It's just like this. It's like this weird Star Trek meets Star Wars thing. This is like a crossover episode from hell. Yeah. I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah.
Again, all of this is just stemming from it's not what I'm a fan of.
Yeah, I get that.
I am not saying my criticisms of it are of it as a Star Wars story, as its own story, as something, as a concept for a whole nother universe.
As a sci-fi story, it's bonkers.
Oh yeah, I might even love it if it was that. But because it involves Star Wars, because Luke Skywalker's there and all of these other well-known Star Wars characters are there, that's when I'm like, wait, but that we go from father-son turmoil to this, like it's just such a departure. And that's all my criticisms. It's just it's a huge departure in the name of Star Wars, in my opinion.
It's familiar, but not too familiar.
It's not familiar,
but not too not familiar.
It's not familiar.
It's a new craze.
It's
a departure.
It's a craze. So all that to say, again, on its own, separate of Star Wars, I think it's a really interesting concept.
Yeah.
I think it could make for a really good series on its own. I don't see the point of Star Wars being, and again, that's one of my main criticisms is looking at it. It's like, what difference does it make to have Jedi? What you can change the names of the Rebellion and the Empire to any other space people and have the same story. I mean, it's just, it doesn't make sense to me why it, so
it's so weird.
Yes, it is.
It broke my brain trying to understand what these fools were about.
Well, really, and that's part of it is, so the main story of like the New Jedi Order, which I don't even know what's called that because the Jedi are mostly useless in all of this. I mean, ultimately, Luke and Jason are able to do some good and everything like that in the final battles, and eventually they learn ways to combat how they can, but essentially the only thing, and this was, I think, the main goal. This was the outset of, well, how do we make this different from any other conflict that's happened in Star Wars so far, which, by the way, again, wasn't that much because we're pretty early on in the lore.
Yeah.
Well, we get the previously known bad guys and the always known good guys to team up. We get the Empire and the Rebellion to team up, and that's how they defeat them.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's what happens is after many books and many stories, the good guys and the bad guys just team up to destroy the Vong. And there you go. And basically all they do is send them into timeout into the unknown regions, which is why they're able to secretly, some of them, start to build up power again and try to come back.
Yeah. I saw another theory that in the book series Aftermath, when Palpatine's trying to reach out to the unknown regions.
Oh, that it's the Vong. A lot of people, think about that. Originally, a lot of people thought it might have been Snoke, but now that we know Snoke is a product of Palpatine, that's obviously not the case.
Yeah.
I mean, it still could be the case that something is there. I just don't want the Vong to be this, because this is just so... It's too different for me to really be able to appreciate and get and get an interest in. If that... I mean, again, I'm with you until Luke Skywalker shows up. As soon as it becomes a Star Wars story, I can't do this. As its own space masochist alien invasion story.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
If you want to watch this in a Star Wars story, just watch Ghosts of Mars. And then follow it up.
Just imagine Ice Cube is Mark Hamill and you're there.
I do.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, for people that like it, cool. Again,
more power to you.
I like it until Luke shows. I'm not. Well, it's just once it becomes a clearly Star Wars story, it just it doesn't work. It's like that thing of, hey, try this food. What is it? Just try it. Okay, what's is it? It's broccoli. Oh my gosh, I hate that. It's that thing of this is a really interesting idea to chew on, and then you tell me, yeah, it's the new Star Wars series. Oh, okay, no.
Here's where we find in the story that you are a picky eater.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
am not a picky eater.
Well, I mean, when it comes to Star Wars, not entirely.
No.
Like, when it comes to the metaphorical Star Wars,
yeah.
I think I'm pretty open to a lot of things.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen you excited about so many things in Star Wars that I don't think that this being your least favorite invalidates
I think it's just because it's
anything
so
else.
extreme.
Exactly.
You know, and being Star Wars is so versed in doing its own thing and doing something that just kind of seems like somebody else was doing, but definitely not like this. You know, like, so much of Star Wars, again, is just revolutionary, and that's behind so much of what built Star Wars. You know, nobody believed in it until George Lucas did it. When it came down, nobody else had the technology until George Lucas did it. Like, these were things that were being dabbled with, but ultimately he perfected for his storytelling.
Exactly.
So to have something this rooted in other aspects and other storytelling and other imagery, to where it feels like Star Trek meets Star Wars, or insert entertainment industry meets Star Wars, that's when it's just it disconnects. It's just like, I can't dive into it, because I'm seeing all these other, I'm seeing Alien, I'm seeing Hellraiser, I'm seeing these other influences. It's so overt that I can't not see it, which then means I can't really enjoy it that well. You know, I want to drive home. The concept of the Vong, very interesting. The idea of a very perilous, you know, alien invasion, I'm there for it. I just don't think that their invasion should invade Star Wars. And, you know,
Hot take.
So, I mean, that's why it never sat well with me and everything like that.
And if
also, I felt like it was a big departure character wise as well, and that's a whole nother, I think, episode and everything. But certain character choices and certain ways they treated characters and other things, they were treated more like sci-fi heroes of the story they were trying to tell, in my opinion, rather than Luke Skywalker, all that stuff.
And if any bit of this episode offends you, I encourage you, if you have a differing opinion, that is perfectly fine. There are people out there who love these stories, and more power to you. They're just not really our kind of thing. And if you feel the need to comment, please do. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what you like about these stories.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's why I just keep reiterating and want to make sure it's understood that I don't hate the people that made it. I don't hate people that like it. I don't even entirely hate it. I just don't get into it.
Yeah. You have a very... When you get passionate about something, you talk passionately.
Well, just in general, apparently I sound offensive to people. So, and that's not this podcast. I mean, just in general in life, people always ask me, "Are you okay?" I'm just exuberant.
As someone who talks to you on a regular basis, I know.
I'm exuberant. So
I know.
Yeah, it's not a place of animosity towards it. It's just a place of
confusion.
You know, I don't get into it. I like aspects of it and think it could make its own story very well. And I'm pretty sure we could probably talk about those things. If you like Vong and if you like some of this stuff, I'm sure the thing we can agree on is that they are a cool concept for an alien antagonist in a series.
Yeah. Listen, tell me about it. Honestly, correct me where I was wrong. I didn't do a ton of research.
So the sum up is we've got these space masochists who believe they, you know, are the best of the best.
Yeah.
And they hide from the galaxy until they don't, and then they come in full force and invade, kill Chewie, kill Anakin Solo, and overall just cause a lot of muck.
And if you guys hear a snort on the podcast, it's Boba.
Yep.
He snorts when he's happy.
Eventually, though, the good news is they were able to subdue and banish the Vong. But it took about, I want to say, like 8 books. I don't even know how many. It took so many books to get there. But that's us reading a wiki and explaining a Vong.
We're going to skim it.
We plan, again, if this is favorable, we're going to plan. We've already kind of had a couple of plans of doing this again later. And it's going to be a very similar approach, hopefully with a lot less just,
Yeah.
hopefully about things we love a little bit more, so it doesn't sound like a ranty, hatey episode.
Oh, we've talked about doing it with Kingdom Hearts,
Oh
and
yeah.
which is something that I know a lot about, but don't necessarily like.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling it'll be a very similar episode.
Yeah. So it's something we're trying out for sure. So hopefully you like it. Again, let us know. Also, let us know if you are a fan of the Vong and,
Yeah.
and why and what does it for you. I think we've made it clear what is kind of
Yeah.
off for us, but we are always interested to hear what people do love, and we would hope to be able to end it on a note where people understand we don't view anyone less than for liking anything that we don't like. That's just
Hmm.
that's the truth of it. If
Yeah.
you don't like The Last Jedi, you're not less than for it. If you like The Vong, you're not less than for it. We just disagree. We aren't fans of it, and that's that. But I'm sure if we talked it out again, there'll be something we agree on
Yeah.
in there somewhere. So, but
Let's
yeah,
talk about Leia. I like Leia.
there you go. So hit us up on social media with that. Let us know what you think and all of that good stuff. Also, just to stay connected when new stuff comes out, make sure you're subscribed everywhere we are: Apple, Spotify, Anchor, YouTube, all of that good stuff. Be sure
Spooky.
to like it if it's able to be liked. Be sure to rate it if it's able to be rated. Let us and everybody else know what your favorite podcast is by doing that. It means a lot and does a lot for the show. And it's a simple way to support us. We do have a Patreon if you are into throwing away your money. Um,
Way to sell it, babe.
I mean, you know what you're getting. We are appreciative of our amazing patrons because they're amazing people. Thank you to Jim, Doug, and Rebecca. We appreciate you guys for helping us do what we do, basically helping this madness happen. You can make it happen as well and also have a voice in making it happen and all of that good stuff if you just check out our Patreon page. It costs nothing to read it and check it out. But it does cost something to sign up. That's the whole concept.
What's the deal behind a Patreon?
That is the deal. Other than that, again, Nerdiverse is launching this week and will be out soon. We hope to hear good things and good feedback of it. We hope you like it because we're excited about it.
Yeah. It'll be fun.
And yeah, so that's that. That's been a Vong.
That's been a Vong.
Don't hate us.
Let's
I'm
talk
sorry.
about it.
Yeah. But until next time, guys, I've been your herd leader, John Wayne.
And I've been your herd mom, Megan.
Stay scruffy, and may the force be with you.
Okay, bye-bye, Boba. Okay, bye-bye. He can't speak English.
Bye-bye.